In this particular section, we're going to look at political campaigns. Now, most campaigns today are conducted by professionals. We're talking about at the national level. The job of a campaign consultant is to establish the overall strategy, to oversee advertising, to conduct polling, which is an extremely important part of any political campaign, to evaluate the meaning of those polls, and to oversee and arrange campaign appearances. In presidential campaigns, it's even more complicated. You have exploration committees, and then you have to look at the primaries. You have open primaries, closed primaries, then blanket primaries, and some states front load the thing, like Texas has its primaries well up in March. You have the national conventions and then the Electoral College, all of which play a role. Now, the Electoral College is indirectly found in Article 2 of the Constitution and has been modified by the 12th, 20th, and 23rd Amendments. The number of electors allocated to a state is determined by the number of representatives and senators, which tends to overrepresent the small states. The electors meet in their separate state capitals. They cast their votes. It's mostly a winner-take-all state, but there are two states that have divided setup. The votes are counted by the President of the U.S. Senate, who's the Vice President of the United States, and it requires a majority vote. If there is no majority, then the House of Representatives will choose. Now take a look at the 2008 electoral distribution. The red states were Republicans, the blue states were Democratic. Now at first glance, it looks like a huge chunk of the country is Republican. But look at the population of the states that voted Republican. It got McCain only 173 votes and Obama 365. He only needed 270 to win. Compare the vote in 2012. Romney again captured the South and chunks of the Midwest. Exceptions, of course, were New Mexico and Colorado, but the whole West Coast and nearly the entire upper Midwest, with the exception of Indiana and West Virginia, went for Romney. Went for Obama. Now, what are the campaign strategies? Well, candidates have to be visible, and they have to have appeal. They have to do polling. They take regular polls, private polls to figure out what issues, themes, and groups, tracking polls which help monitor the effectiveness of political campaigns. There are campaign finance limits, of course. The Federal Corrupt Practices Act established contributions limits. Now, some of that's been undermined a great deal by the decision of the Supreme Court in the Citizens United case, which we previously talked about. I'm not particularly interested in going through all of these campaign finance laws. It's a snoozer. Hard money versus soft money. Hard money is subject to campaign limits. It's regulated by the FEC. But soft money, which is money used for party-building activities, is not regulated, and it can be used for issue advocacy, generic advertising, registering supporters, and getting out the vote. This soft money loophole is based on a 1979 amendment to the Federal Election Campaign Act that contributions to party organizations for party building are unlimited, and it's designed to encourage voluntary involvement in presidential campaigns. If you want to look at it, here are the contribution limits for the 2013-2014 campaign. They haven't really been set for the 2017 campaign. Again, these are the sorts of things you can look at. What we're really concerned about now in this election are independent expenditures. That's money spent by a group not connected to a candidate's campaign. And as a result of the Citizens United decision, they held that corporations were protected by the First Amendment. Therefore, independent expenditures by corporations and unions could not be limited by Congress. And if we want to look at some of the independent expenditures, the Restore Our Future was essentially a super PAC for George Romney, spent $142 million. Americans. Crossroads, another super PAC, spent $91 million. The Priorities USA was a $66 million, primarily Obama. And we can continue this thing. Notice that there are a whole lot more Republican super PACs than there were Democratic super PACs. Did it make a difference in the election? Well, it might have, and it might not have. Now, there's a great website called Open Secrets, and you might spend a little bit of time looking at that. If you happen to have, if you're interested in information, there's a great website the New York Times had on independent expenditures. Now, we don't want to spend too much time dealing with this, but the core question in the 2016 campaign will be the role of super PACs and what they can spend and what they can do.